A lot of people come to us and are like, you guys build mobile homes. Technically, it's wrong. We don't build mobile homes. That's not a thing. It hasn't been a thing since the 70s. It's called manufactured homes. We build to a federal building code. We build these homes in a massive factory, all the same materials as a site-built home.
What's up, everyone? This is episode 1. We've never done this before, but today we are going to kick off a series of a ton of videos about what we do. Quick background on myself. My name is Corey McGuire. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and one of the owners of the Home Gallery. We build the highest end manufactured homes in the United States right here in Malibu, California, right on the coast of Southern California. We build in one of the most expensive areas in the United States for new construction, and there's just a huge amount of benefits to what we do. We've been doing this for the last 8 to 10 years. A little bit about me. Trace is sitting with me. Trace is also my brother. He's our head of sales and partner in crime, partner in the mustache world here.
The better mustache.
I ask people all the time who's older. They say him. He's actually a lot younger than me, but we both rock it well. So yeah, Trace, just tell everybody about yourself.
Cool. My name's Trace McGuire. I got a background in real estate. I got a degree in real estate. Worked in Florida as a real estate agent. Came out here to California to kind of help the guys with the company, got my California broker's license, and now I manage all our sales as well as all of our investment deals and projects.
Yeah, so quick background, we're owned and operated by 2 families. So we are a family business, super important for us. But Trace is my right hand and helps us in everything we do, from meeting clients all the way through completing their projects. To wrap up, quick background on our company, we build from 500 square foot to 5,000 square foot homes. We build our homes in a factory, meaning we build them in less than 15 days with hundreds of workers. There's a massive scale of economy in doing that. We're building with the exact same materials as stick-built construction. We're just doing it in a really fast, consolidated time frame. So today we're just gonna let it rip. We have no idea how to do this, but we're gonna start it off and
episode 1.
Hope this turns into something. This will spin into a ton of videos. We're gonna talk about real estate. We're gonna talk about investing deals. We're gonna talk about building your own custom home and the limitations, if any. I don't see any in building in our kind of manufacturing method, but our sweet spot is high-end manufactured homes versus a bunch of guys showing up on site with like materials from Home Depot and taking a year and a half to build your project. Yeah, that's through intros. I say we just let it start. Like the basic question that we get all the time is, what is a manufactured home? So,
or a mobile home. What's a mobile home?
Yeah, or a mobile home, or is this modular? Is this prefab? Trace can hit on this, but I'll tell you, we get looped into what's considered modular or prefab all the time. They're actually distinctively different building codes. So we're building to a federal building code, which is regulated by HUD. So the United States government has a building class called HUD that we build to. Since the 60s, people have been using this building code to build low-end, very affordable, cheap homes. You know, typically I would say nationwide, maybe in that like 100,000 or less range, or 200,000 or less range. If you go on our website, you'll see we build homes up to $2 million or more. So massive, you know, up to 5,000 square foot homes. There's no limit on the size of what we can build. But from the basics, like, let's just jump into what is a manufactured home.
I think what's interesting is people always come to us and they're like, do you guys build mobile homes? That terminology has been used for a long time, but I think manufactured homes started after the 70s. In the 70s, they transformed from mobile homes to manufactured homes, which I think a lot of people don't understand. And the reason they transferred it was because they increase building standards. They use better materials and all that stuff. So a lot of people come to us and are like, you guys build mobile homes. Technically, it's wrong. We don't build mobile homes. That's not a thing. It hasn't been a thing since the 70s. It's called manufactured homes. And like Corey said, biggest benefit. We build to a federal building code. We build these homes in a massive factory, all the same materials as a site-built home, 2x6, R33, the same drywall, the same PEX plumbing. That's kind of what I wanted to go over. I think everyone talks about mobile homes, and mobile homes are not a thing anymore. Yes, they still exist in America. There's old mobile homes everywhere. But after, I think, 1976, the bill passed where it's now called a manufactured home because they increased their standards. But they're great. People love them. I think the biggest thing is affordability nowadays. And I think these homes, our homes, are kind of the only option for people that want to build new construction because of the cost of construction. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, I would say like the biggest thing being like in California is the cost of living and the cost of new construction and the cost of everything is
ridiculous.
Totally insane. So like where we're based, new construction can be anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200, a square foot, which, compared to the rest of the United States is totally bonkers.
Yeah.
But that's like the cost of fuel here is also,
cost of living.
Triple. The cost of rent is triple and quadruple depending on where you're at. So everything at the end of the day ends up costing more money in this part of the United States. And so manufactured homes, especially high-end manufactured homes, become the immediate answer. And so I think the big difference is there's a couple of key things that we do that make our homes different than what people are used to as being like mobile or manufactured homes throughout the rest of the United States. But I would say key differences are going to be on quality of materials and how we spec our homes, design, architectural features, how we design our homes, what we incorporate into the finished product, and the biggest one being foundations. So I would say at any given point in time, we have 60 to 70 construction projects, in our world going on, whether it's going through permitting or active construction or going through production in the factory. And in 95% of those situations, we are building homes onto a permanent foundation, so on private land. So we're literally building homes, doing all site prep and grading and excavation, serious concrete and rebar foundations, footing, a slab, a concrete CMU perimeter wall. So the foundation under our homes is massive. But by the time we complete the project and attach the home to a permanent foundation, our homes are registered with what's called a 433A permanent foundation. That transfers them from being mobile or chattel and jumps the gap from
personal property to real property.
Personal property to real property, which in real estate is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So we're also building all of our homes to a class called MH Advantage. And by doing that, you're actually federally required to appraise our homes like the surrounding stick builds because we're using the same materials. It's a part of a permanent foundation and it should be comped that way. So in our world, we'll get into this later, but like high level benefits of our homes is one, they're federally approved. So from a permitting standpoint, permitting is also really difficult in California. You can permit our homes faster. The homes are typically around half the cost of new construction. And at the end of the day, they can be appraised as similar surrounding structures. So for us, a lot of our clients, day one when we finish our projects, there's instant equity there. Whereas opposed to if you're building in California at $1,000 a foot,
you're praying 5 years down the line you make money.
Yeah, and so most of the time you're like immediately underwater if you just like look at the surrounding comps and what people have to pay for properties. And there's a huge amount of benefits to going with our homes. But when it comes to the like what is a manufactured home, the home is being built in a factory to a federal standard and specification. They're being certified and stamped in the factory. They do have a steel I-beam chassis with axles for delivery. And I would to touch on like in the grand scheme of things, these homes traditionally were used to go into manufactured home park communities where they can be set up on temporary foundations. But in our world here with what we specialize in, which is a niche in the United States, we place them on permanent foundations on raw land.
Yeah.
In like 9 out of 10 situations.
Yeah, I think typically when people think of a manufactured home, they think of like a single wide or a double wide. We actually call them single sections. Yeah, what we specialize in is doing the best of the best, utilizing this building code and using the best materials, quartz and granite, floor to ceiling tile work. And it has kind of become a go-to option for new construction. I think one of the cool things also to touch on that Corey was talking about was manufactured versus modular. I think a lot of people, they call us and they're like, hey, you guys build modular homes. It gets thrown around. There's kind of this like factory built umbrella where the homes are built in a factory, but then it dishes off into manufactured or modular. Modular being built to state and local codes. I think that's the biggest difference. We build to a federal building code, the HUD code. So like Corey said, we supersede a lot of city and county stuff building federally, but modular homes are great. I think there's also a big difference. They usually build most of the shells in the factory and then they finish on site. And I think what's really cool about what we do is the home is done out of the factory all the way down to the kitchen appliances, the tile in the showers. So that's also pretty cool. And that's how you save money. I think modular homes are amazing and they do beautiful stuff, but they end up probably being about the same cost as an on-site build because they're constructing on site. They bring in a shell, they crane it off of the flatbed, and then they go and work for a couple months inside, adding all the finishes. Whereas we get that scale of economy in the factory because we finish everything inside the factory and then we just have a few months of setup.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love custom construction. I love crazy, like, unique projects. But in the grand scheme of things here in the state of California, most people can't afford that. The cost to do it is insane. Also, just the cost to like architecturally design something like that. Like, I'll tell you, we have at least 1 to 2 clients a week that come to us that have just spent, especially with the recent fires, where thousands of homes burned down. People are trying to figure out what options they have. Everybody's underinsured. Clients come in and have spent anywhere between $50 to $100,000+ with architects designing their homes to figure out once they go to bid it that they can't even build the project, which is backwards, but we see it every single day. People meet an architect, a friend of a friend, or they reach out to really like high-end architect.
It's also a default. I think when people think about building a house, they want to go to an architect.
Well, yeah, you design it first. Let's figure out something that we want to design. Well, the cost to do that is expensive.
Yeah.
So unless you just have like ridiculous money and are loaded, you know, most people can't do that. Yeah. Our clients can't do that. That's why they come to us. But a lot of times clients will have gone down that process and spent huge money designing a home that they then figure out they can't afford to build and then feel loss. And so they come to us to figure out, like, how do we actually build a 2,000 square foot home or a 3,000 square foot home, you know, for something that we can afford. And everybody, when it comes to the fires, is underinsured. I don't care from the smallest to the largest homes. We have clients that have approached us that even on the highest end of things where they had multi-million-dollar up to $17 million homes and they only were
got $3 million from insurance.
Yeah, up to $3 million. So like those guys, even though maybe they can't afford to do that, they still have to come out of pocket massive money to build at $1,000 a foot. So, but yeah, when it comes to our homes, floor to ceiling tile throughout all baths, fully loaded, full fire sprinklers. We built to the highest fire standards in California, which is called WUI. James Hardy cement siding. You know, our homes are beautiful. Our only limitation is we don't build two-story homes. We have spent a tremendous amount of time working on a whole new oceanfront product line for properties on the beach, where the entire first floor will be a concrete cement, you know, basement foundation where we crane in place our homes. But we try in most situations to drive in our sections. Like, you could pull up a video, I don't know if you have access to it or not, but to just show the process and how we do all of our site prep and foundations and then get to the point. Yeah, this is a project just over Zuma Beach here in California. This is, you know, on the northern side of Malibu.
Ridiculous views.
Crazy 360-degree oceanfront views, but you'll see we put in all of the concrete and site prep and rebar. This home is a 4-section home. You can see it on our website, but this is a 2,300 square foot home that we built in 4 sections. We call them sections.
So, fully complete. This thing has all the kitchens in it, all the tile work.
Yeah, down to the appliances.
Thing's done.
And light fixtures. So we basically have a 2-week process where we stitch those sections together and level them before raising up the final foundation. And at the end of the day, the home is completely done out of the factory. There's a lot of work that we have to do still, you know, in terms of like what we call marrying the sections together and correcting any sort of issues from transport. We do deal with, you know, whether it's drywall, you know, repair or damage, stuff that happens while we're driving these sections down the road. But the big thing is, when compared to modular, like Trace was saying, our homes basically come in on wheels and then we separate those axles from the sections and place the home on a permanent foundation. Whereas modular, they're putting boxes on a trailer, delivering them to the site, and then craning in place. So massive costs in craning and all that kind of stuff. Woolsey fire happened 8-9 years ago. Basically 600 homes burned down in Malibu. The two brothers that founded the company had spent 25 years in high-end construction and remodeling, and needed a building code that they could quickly help their friends, rebuild their homes. And so everybody was faced with this crazy question, like, we're underinsured, we don't have any insurance, like, how do we rebuild?
How do we rebuild in Malibu?
They were literally at the time trying to work on a cool housing project that they could build in like the islands, like mobile modular, homes that could be used for shipping to like cool surf destinations around the world. The problem with that, again, becomes this whole modular and prefab thing. You're building in a factory. Yes, you have all the benefits of that. Then need to get those homes approved in whatever location you're sending them to. So they stumbled into the HUD code, which basically is a federal blanket approval in every city and county in the United States. And it's a fast track process for, plans being stamped and certified from the factory.
Yeah.
So like the factory has, inspectors and engineering groups that are on the front end stamping our homes as being HUD approved. And so there's no city or county in America that can turn down a federally HUD approved home. The only place that we ever find an issue where we have to have a conversation about it is in like an HOA. And most of the time that's an architectural conversation. Like every HOA has an architectural committee, and they just want to make sure that everything looks a certain way.
Terracotta roofs, all that good stuff.
Stucco, yeah, whatever the exterior of the home looks like. So we, in most situations, like we have a giant ADU business here where we build ADUs, in people's front backyards. We have a couple where they have the ability to put it in the front yard. But in most situations, ADUs are going in California, like crazy. And we have to meet architectural guidelines. And we do that. There's a lot of stuff. There's another misconception that like they need to look a certain way. We have the ability to do anything on site to modify our homes and make them look exactly the way the client wants. But so we got here from hundreds of people in Malibu needing homes fast. And the guys who founded the company and later brought me in attached their wagon to the HUD code, and we have made it, that's literally what we do and what we live on. And we've spent the
we spent the last
8-9 years pushing the limits of what you can do with the HUD code. When they first approach the factories, like the factories are typically used to selling these homes that like never exceed like maximum $200,000. We push the limits of what they can do, and we started building millions and millions of dollars worth of super high-end homes, bigger windows, a lot more natural light, better space planning, better use of incredible counters, granites, quartz everywhere. And from our first home was a 900 square foot home that has been our showroom. We have a showroom in Malibu, just overlooking the ocean, that's been there for the last 9 years. Today we're building, we've got a 5,000 square foot home that we're designing that we're literally going to apply for a Guinness Book of World Records on. So back to your question, this all started from a fire. We spent the last 8 years building a ton of fire rebuilds and then expanding. And today, you would know more than me, but we have over 100 floor plans that are pre-designed, ready to rock and roll. When it comes to fires, you can touch on that. But last year, we had a series of devastating fires here, over 12 and 13,000 homes burned down across Malibu, the Pacific Palisades, and Altadena. We're building homes across every neighborhood and territory across those three areas. But when it comes to fire rebuilds, every home is totally custom designed from scratch for the clients.
Yeah, all these clients, after the fires happened in January, they started rolling through the door and saying, we're underinsured, we need help. You guys kind of are our only option. We can't afford a crazy, big house, and also can't afford the time it takes. A lot of these people, they received maybe a year of rental assistance, maybe 2 years of rental assistance. When you start, a ground up on-site project, it can take 2 years. Now you're balancing rent and a new construction project. It becomes crazy. So a lot of people came through the door and said we need help. And we're doing a ton of projects. I think we have probably 60, 70 projects right now throughout Palisades, Altadena, Malibu. And we took them through that process. We did custom floor plans. I think your biggest issue in these fires is this whole, 110% staying in that fire rebuild to get a fast track permit. Well, these homes that were built back in the 50s, 60s, they're odd shapes, they're odd sizes. So we have 100 floor plans on the website, but almost every one of these homes is custom. We're fully matching their footprint. We're getting down to the foot on the 110%. If they had 1,500 square feet, we're getting them 1,650.
I think it helps too to explain like how our industry works. So like we're federally regulated. We are licensed to work in this federal building code. So like 99% of all companies that do what we do build with a couple of giant factories around the nation. And typically what they do is they become manufactured home dealers, and they sell
off the shelf.
Yeah, a book of homes. Like the factories might have 8 homes or 10 homes or 20 or 30 homes that are just like as basic as can be, no architectural features, very simple, carpet floors,
no dig on carpets,
plastic showers, like your typical manufactured homes that go into mobile home parks. So like someone might buy a space in a mobile home park in the middle of the United States, or like even on the ocean here. We have some of the nicest manufactured home parks on the ocean here that are $3 and $4 million.
Yeah.
That celebrities live in. But in the world that we work in and being federally regulated, people set up businesses like ours in terms of regulation, but they sell from a cut sheet, a piece of paper with no modifications, no changes, basic as it comes. We've spent the last 8 years building a serious team with in-house drafting and engineering and design to basically design custom homes from scratch. So every single one of our homes, like all 100 floor plans, are totally custom design and unique and exclusive to us. And so we've had this like crazy amount of at-bats for the last, or practice runs for the last 8-9 years designing custom homes. And then the fires happen and people need homes to fit their original foundation. And so people in our world aren't skilled enough or don't have the team of people to actually like do this and match our building code. So huge amount of catch up if anybody wanted to like try to attempt to do what we're doing. But today we have a couple of different buckets where we serve people. One is new construction all over Southern California. We basically run the entire process, start to finish, for people that are looking to build homes. They find us, they see that we're more affordable and are an amazing option. We do a crazy amount of ADUs in people's backyards. And today, when it comes to the recent fires, we have a huge amount of clients that we're helping rebuild their homes. And so, yeah, I think it's important to kind of see the difference, like what a typical manufactured home company is versus us. And it's a huge amount of experience and a team that can actually design custom homes. Like Trace was saying, we probably meet 3-4 families a day, and we're within 24 hours designing a full custom home from scratch that meets their original footprint plus an extra 10% if they want. We're building compounds, main residences, and ADUs to replace homes that were lost.
Duplexes,
multifamily. We've got a 6 or 7 unit multifamily project just across the street from the ocean right now that we're working on for a client. We just finished 2 duplexes
in Ventura.
Behind a up and down duplex. So we made it a quadplex. So yeah, I would say it's been a journey, but we have spent over the last 8 or 9 years millions upon millions of dollars building custom high-end manufactured homes, which gives us the ability to help people today.
And we also build in park communities. It's not a huge part of our business, but we do beautiful homes in parks. We just delivered a home in Carpinteria that's insane. Yeah,
we became known for the contemporary line. So like the company originally had 1 design, and then it turned into 2, and then it turned into 7. They were all contemporary in nature. So if you look, a lot of our homes, you'll see, if you go on our website, thehomegallery.com, you'll see a lot of them have flat roofs. Just like this is a very like modern and sleek look. It's also not traditional or craftsman in nature. So as clients came to us that don't like this architectural style, we basically had to design more homes. So today we can match any architectural style, modern, contemporary, craftsman, Mediterranean. There's a ton of stuff that we can do. But we started with contemporary. That's kind of what was our bread and butter. And today we build all shapes, styles, everything. L-shape houses, U-shape houses. We're building a giant H right now. That's that 5,000 square foot home in Topanga, which is going to be sick. We're building an 8-bedroom golfer's lodge for a golf course nearby. So so many things you can do with our homes.
A lot of people, trying to build a new house, they start looking on Zillow and trying to find properties that they like and kind of all that good stuff. And I always tell people as flat as possible to save on grading. I think that that's huge. And also utilities. I think utilities are a huge aspect in a new construction process, just because it could take you potentially a year to bring in, utilities, wells, septic, all that good stuff, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you're looking for land and are kind of looking for a new construction project, I think as flat as possible on the land, it helps, save time and money. Utilities are huge. Fire rebuild lots are a good example. There was a home there. If there's a lot for sale that was lost in the fire, there was a home there was utilities there. It's kind of a quick process to get that in. And then there's all sorts of ways to do the process. You can do a one-time closed construction. I haven't seen one happen just because they typically are 12-month loans. And if you say permits are going to take 6 months and the build all in takes 6 months, the banks usually don't lend on it. So what I've seen is typically people have to purchase land, get permits, and then we can pull a construction loan and kind of do that whole process.
Yeah, and we've also learned over time, it's important for us to do everything. So in the early days, we had clients that were trying to do a fire rebuild and they knew somebody that could run the permitting on it. And we said, okay, yeah, we'll just, sell you the house and install it and you can handle permits. Well, what we realized over time is that those clients took years to get their permits because they didn't understand it, or it can take years to get a permit in the state of California. For us, our permits, we just got a permit back in Ojai in
3 months,
3 or 4 months. So that's probably the fastest I've ever seen it in on a raw piece of land. But permits can take a year in California. They can take longer. It's important for us today. Our permit packages basically have red text and writing all over them. This is a federal HUD, building code, and it clearly states where the cities and counties have jurisdiction over certain things like the foundations and connection of utilities. But this is a pre-approved home. But I would say, from a learning curve, we had to figure out how to take on the whole full circle life cycle of everything. So today we're a full turnkey service. So from, kickoff of the project through permitting, through site prep, foundations, everything, we do everything 100% in-house. We also used to give people options okay, yeah, you could start at a base model home and then add things. And we realized it wasn't beneficial for the client. So we basically, every home you see on our website's fully loaded, permitting included, foundations included, and it's just much easier for people to understand and grasp.
Yeah. I think it's also going back to kind of the fires and that whole situation. These people lost their homes. They now have to become a developer. I think
that's insane. I've built more homes than probably anybody I could ever bump into. And
there's still questions, we still get roadblocks.
Yeah, literally developing a raw piece of land is crazy.
Level 10.
Yeah, it's level 10 in the video game world, and you're expecting somebody that just lost their home, never expected to build a house, to now become a developer. And so there's a lot that goes into it. You have site prep, you have utilities, you have, here in California, expediting entitlement. So actually getting permits, even on a fire rebuild, there's questions. We have a client, very good friend of ours now, who lost their home, and they've had a home there for 60 years. And the county wants to now run full geological studies to understand what's underneath the house, 50 to 100 feet.
Yeah.
And from a simple standpoint, he's like,
that home's been there 60 years.
I've lived here for 60 years, been through every kind of earthquake you can think of, and the house never moved.
Yeah.
He's like, I know we're on solid rock, but from an entitlement standpoint, we have to prove to the county that the property's safe and there's documentation behind it in the event that there's a landslide. It sits on an active or inactive landslide. So California, especially where we're at, we are not in a flat part of California. We literally butt up against the Santa Monica Mountains. There's a massive mountain range here. We build in the mountains. Our deliveries are insane. And so you're dealing with slope side properties in a lot of situations. We have a lot of clients every day that reach out to us and they're like, hey, I found a lot in Malibu that's 150 grand or 200 grand.
It's on the side of a mountain.
It literally looks like you need a Sherpa, and a goat to reach it. And so it seems, affordable or interesting, but it's totally unbuildable. And some people from out of state will buy those lots. They'll be like, I'm buying a property in Malibu, sight unseen, and realize that it's 100% got no utilities, totally undevelopable, without spending millions upon millions of dollars, could take years to permit. So back to what Trace is saying, like for us, we have clients we call no land leads that basically come in every day that like love our homes, want our homes. Maybe they're a young family that are like just starting out. They want to build something from scratch.
Or even people tired of renting.
Yeah, or spending crazy money on renting, or maybe they've saved up a little bit of a nest egg and think that they can build something and don't want to pay $3 million for a house, in Westlake Village. The big thing for us is we're looking for flat properties. It's far easier to entitle and build and get through the process. It also saves a huge amount of costs in like craning and deep foundations and footings. So most of our projects, we're looking for like flat, fairly flat properties that can be prepped and graded with minimal concrete and rebar. And
yeah, we also do full budgets. I think that's also a nice thing. When clients come and meet with us, we start pulling up site plans, floor plans. We kind of start designing. We're saying, hey, what do you like? You want a 3-bed? You want a 2-bed? And then we it's our goal to give estimates within 24 hours. But we give full-blown estimates on the house, but also other items. I think when people are building a property, they forget about the landscaping package or they forget about the hardscape. So I think a cool thing that we do also is we provide full in budgets of what it's going to cost.
We also don't charge We also don't charge anything for that.
Yeah.
So like when I was saying earlier, people charging $50,000 to $100,000 in architectural plans and design plans, we do that totally free for the clients. Especially fire victims, full design is free. Permitting is waived, free. So we cover the cost of our entitlement person running permits for them. They still have to pay any sort of fees to the city or county or whatever comes up. But we do all of this at no charge. And that's because in our world, we're trying to help people like build an amazing home, not just like a home, but an amazing home affordably.
Yeah.
And our belief as a company and as like owners, what we've decided is within a couple of days, our goal is 24 hours, but within a couple of days, somebody should be able to see a home without paying a single penny and understand the full cost to rebuild. And we do that. We have a team, in place that can do that kind of stuff.
I think the big word that freaks everyone out is change orders. They're like, what's the change order? When we build a home in the factory in 15 days, there's no change orders. I think that that's something super cool to talk about, just because when you're building a home on site or, traditionally, it could potentially take 12 months on site, hammering and nailing with a full crew of guys, and there will be change orders. The price of wood will go up. The price of commodities will go up or down. I've never seen them go down. They usually go up.
No, milk hasn't gone down. Eggs haven't gone down. Like the price of homes have never
yeah.
It's a general statement, but like everything goes up.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty cool when we build a home so fast on a massive production line. You don't have a surprise of a change order on the house, which I think is a huge benefit to clients looking at our building code and how we build, where we can say the price of the home is this, and 15 days later the home is built and that was the price of the home.
Yeah, I think the only other place that you can find that is when you look at like massive subdivisions, like a 200 home like tract home community, like a Lennar or some of those giant guys. They like bring the factory to the subdivision, but you're locked into like 3 or 4 models. And, they can do that.
Yeah.
And they basically create a production line within the property, and they start from lot 1 and go all the way through 200. I built one of those homes a few years ago. It was amazing, but you're locked into like 3 or 4 designs, and you're locked into that community, and you're locked into HOAs, and you're locked into like whatever you're signing up for. Everybody always hears projects taking twice as long, costing twice as much, or 30, 40, 50% more. I think you're going to see a lot of that in the fire rebuilds. We have people saying that their prices are less than $1,000 a foot and this and that. I think you're going to see a lot of people sign up for construction projects that end up just getting ordered out to, these crazy numbers that people have to build for here because the cost of everything is just insane.
Yeah, not saying that hiccups don't happen and roadblocks happen. The county comes back to you and wants a slope stability analysis that we didn't account for. That does happen. But I think it's pretty cool that we build so efficiently and in such a short time frame that your biggest asset, in the construction project is not going to change in price.
No, when it comes to the home itself, that's locked in. So that's a huge benefit for a ton of people, just knowing that they're like the biggest item in their budget is going to be
the house
locked in, which is the house. Anything outside of that footprint, we basically, it can change. Like if the client wants sidewalks, they want a driveway, they want stamped concrete, they want like broom finish, like all that stuff is totally up for grabs. We also assist in that process and get them the best cost whatsoever on anything outside of the home. Like we have a project right now, the corner footing on the house needed to go deeper. So basically there will be a slightly larger cost for the difference in our 12-inch by 18-inch footing, going to 3 feet. So it's not a huge cost, but the cost of the house is locked in, which is massive for our people that are on budgets.
And I also think it's huge. People ask us, they're like, well, how are you building for half the cost of an on-site build? And I think it's pretty easy to think about. We build in a factory that builds 600 homes a year. You get a scale of economy. You just compare it to building, with 15 guys on site for one house. Whereas when we build, that cost is getting spread out across 600 homes a year for their labor. So that's why we get to build. We get a massive scale of economy on the labor side, but we also get a massive scale economy on buying power. Our factory's purchasing, millions of dollars in lumber. They're basically buying forests.
You're also going to have people watch this and they're going to be like, I'm from, Cincinnati, Ohio or something, and that's ridiculous. $1,000 a foot. It's $200 a foot where I'm at. Well, yeah.
It's linear there.
Check the price of fuel, check the price of taxes, check the price of everything. And it's linear. It's all going to be less.
Yeah.
And so we're building in a world here that is very expensive. So we become the immediate option, and we have to get there by leveraging a massive factory with hundreds of people to be able to get a scale of economy to bring those costs down, without bringing 100,000 square foot factory to your property.
How our process works. Somebody walks through the door. We meet them here in our offices. We have a headquarters here in Agora Hills. We sit down, myself, Corey, Joseph, they're both the owners of the company. You're talking to the owners of the company. You're not just talking to a salesperson, which I think is huge. I know is huge. And we start looking at site plans, floor plans, designs. We look at homes. We have tons of homes nearby that we tour. We get you estimates, full in budgets, that whole thing. We do a design session, if need be. If you need to see a home designed or something that you like, we show you that we can do it. And then we'll do an on-site kickoff. We'll immediately, when you purchase a home, have our entire team on site, start giving everyone marching orders. Our expediters will be there all the way down to our admins and escrows.
Construction managers, production managers, guys that are managing the order through the factory, making sure that we're getting what we're designing. Yeah, we have a full team, on the payroll that's sitting there touching the ground, understanding exactly what we're trying to accomplish. And that happens within a couple of days from signing up. So we literally do these every single Friday. We're on job sites with clients. It's super important for us that like the clients are dealing with the owners. We've tried multiple times. We've had amazing sales reps come through that we've loved, have great relationships with, that just from like a confidence standpoint, I think it was hard for clients to feel like they were getting the support that they needed with a sales rep. So today we handle every single client 100%, especially fire rebuilds, directly as ownership of the company.
And we're also with them through the entire process. I do manage sales, but I still have clients call me in the middle of the night. Hey, Trace, we need this.
Oh, we help people with insurance. We've helped people capture hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Probably millions.
Yeah, I would say, up to hundreds of thousands of dollars just on their project in insurance funds, like helping them unlock that by providing all the back end and the admin. And we provide bids. We do everything, like anything outside of the house, we help manage without charging. There's a lot of stuff we do outside of just building the home.
Because it's a big undertaking.
Yeah.
It's crazy to, develop a piece of property, but it's kind of what we specialize in and what we're good at. So it's nice to help them on that. I'll start with a disclaimer. I am not a lender. I'm not a loan officer. We don't have in-house financing as a company.
The mustache, I thought you were a lender.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe I could get my license and be a lender. I don't know. But we don't do in-house financing as a company. We work with a ton of different lenders. I have a handful of people that we work with that have been great. They've helped a lot of clients. But yeah, there's a ton of benefits. There's a ton of federal loan products out there that I'm sure your lender that's helping you can touch on, but a lot of Fannie and Freddie loan programs because we're building to a federal product.
So do you want to explain that? Like Fannie, Freddie, like their federal loan programs, first-time home buyers. There's all these different loan programs for people trying to build a home. The United States wants people to buy homes, build homes, and create, families.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. We build to a code called MH Advantage that is a Fannie and Freddie code. And since we're building with the same materials, our homes have to appraise like a site built home. So it kind of works hand in hand. You have this code that's a federal code that we're building to. That's Fannie and Freddie. And Fannie and Freddie can lend on it. You can get 5% down. You can do all kind of that good stuff. But there's tons of options out there on the lending side. I would definitely recommend reaching out to your lender. I have a handful of people that we work with that have been great.
Yeah, with people that specialize in land home combos.
ADUs, shadow loans.
Yep.
So it just kind of depends on what you're trying to do.
Also your situation. So like your cash position, your credit score.
Yeah, self-employed.
Whether you're, there's a lot of different ways to approach a project. And we got a great list of lenders that we basically introduce you to day one to try to figure out what the best situation is for you to try to get lending for these homes. But we're building to a federal building code, so there's federal loan products. There's lots of options for people, even if they don't have a sack of cash in a bank account sitting somewhere.
We've also seen a lot of situations which I think is huge and goes hand in hand with we build efficiently and for half the cost and all that good stuff is clients finish projects. They finish, a construction loan and all that good stuff, and they immediately have equity in the project. And so they refi into something traditional, potentially pull cash off the table. I think the simple math is if you're building for $500 a square foot in an area that's appraising for $1,000, $1,200 a square foot, like Malibu, the Palisades, and you refinance, there is equity there. So I think that that's huge, and we've seen that in a lot of situations.
No, we've tested it. We've spent money, and we've had our homes appraised, and actually had appraisers come out and not even know that the home was built in a factory until we told them. And then they said, oh, well, I'm gonna have to look at this differently. He said, no, you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
This is the code and specifics that we're building to. You have to appraise this, like the surrounding multi-million-dollar homes, in this area of, Malibu, and got those appraisals.
Yeah. It's also simple on the appraisal side. I'll kind of touch back. I have a degree in real estate. I didn't just get my real estate license, at a local place.
No, that's big. Like one of the reasons, without interrupting, that I brought Trace in to be on our hip here is Trace got a 4-year degree in real estate. There's only a couple of programs in the nation that actually offer that. Trace was a golfer in college. He was interested in real estate, but so he committed to a program that was a 4-year program that one allows you to become a broker in any state and take the test. But you have you didn't go online and sign up for a class and get your real estate license.
I was going to touch on too. I have, some of my professors back in Chicago are the top guys at the Appraisal Institute, for the United States. And I talked with them because there is a stigma sometimes of, this manufactured home shouldn't appraise like a site-built home. And I think you have to look at it very simply. When you're building with the same exact materials, the same 2x6, the same quartz and granite.
Oh, the same products.
It's the same thing. It has to appraise just like that. I argue that our home should appraise for more than a SIPO home, because when you're building inside a controlled environment, it's not raining. There's not rats living inside your house while they're framing the house.
Oh, dude, we have projects that surround us on the coast here. And what people forget, they're building these multi-million-dollar homes, like with custom builders, and they're cool. They're amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if I had $100 million, I would do the same thing. But we're in a coastal environment. Yeah,
the fog's rolling in. There's
the fog rolls
growing
in every day and fills these homes. And so when they're in the framing stage, we've watched homes. We show clients all the time homes around us that look like they're going to be amazing, and the timber, all the wood, is black because it's just covered in mold. Yeah. And so they have to either replace that, or they come in, finally close in the house. And some people will say, they'll be like, oh, well, they just got to have a bad builder. And I'm like, dude, I'm pointing at 3 projects on the mountain behind us.
It's just they're exposed.
Yeah, they're exposed to the elements.
You'll see there's this stigma right now for manufactured homes and factory built homes that they might be lesser quality than a site built home. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, that'll totally flip flop. And I think you'll see that site built homes, people will think of as less because, they're getting rained on. There is animals living, and burrowing inside your framing.
Well, it's like it's an educational thing, but like the rising cost of living. Like I always say this, but like when I came out of school, your goal was to try to like make 6 figures. I went to business school, and like you were trying to like cross that like 6-figure threshold, say maybe make $100,000 a year. That's the same today. And the costs have doubled and tripled. Like the first home that I ever bought today is 5 and 6 times more in the town that I bought it in. And that same income level is still a target for people. So like the reason that our homes are going to be looked at different over time, especially here, is because of the rising cost and inflation and all the kind of external factors that we deal with. But yeah, I would argue that our homes are built to a better standard because they're built in an indoor environment.
It doesn't rain inside.
No, also too, like when it comes to drywall, like if you've ever built a house, like you've got guys like on stilts and rafter, and like trying to put the drywall in. Our entire roof in the factory is craned down to a level that standing workers can install the drywall with lasers on site. So like you're not doing that in the field. So again, like I love cool construction. I love every kind of construction, but that's not what we do because we serve a client base here that is trying to build affordably and still get amazing finishes and the same stuff. And so our only limitation, we don't build 2-story homes. So a lot of people come to us and they'll be like, I want a 2-story home. And we'll be like, that's not us.
Yeah.
But we'll build.
Also a normal client base. I think a lot of people think of Malibu as super rich and everyone has all this money. Everyone we talk to, the house has been in the family for 60 years and they're as normal as can be. So
no, like, yeah, I mean, for us, that's everybody's normal.
Yeah.
Like people are not loaded. They're not celebrities. They're not that Malibu is known for that, but like you have a lot of normal people that are just trying to live their lives and build a beautiful home for their families or themselves or their mom or their son we have a lot of projects here where people are like combining houses because of the
ADUs
cost of
in the
living.
back, yep.
I have a lot of clients too in the last couple of years where we built an ADU on the property. Maybe they had like a 20-acre amazing property in Ojai, that's just this incredible spot, and they're getting to that like retirement age. And what they'll do is they'll build the ADU on a far corner on the property and have this brand new beautiful home, and they'll move into the ADU and rent out the main house for more. So they're like, as they're crossing into retirement age, they're putting themselves in a situation where they're in a brand new house and renting out their, the biggest asset that they own, which is their house. And we help them do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we should wrap this up. I think it was a good first episode. And we'll just kind of touch on some more stuff. But episode 1, Mustache McGuire's, we'll figure out a name here soon. But thanks for joining.
Yeah, I think the big thing, like this is going to spin into a ton of different angles. Like because we're building so many homes and helping so many types of clients, we're going to try to touch on everything that you can possibly do in the world of manufactured homes. Like I would say we have more expertise than anybody in the nation when it comes to what you can do with manufactured homes at this point. And whether it's from an investment standpoint, whether it's building something for yourself, like I think we can help share our story and teach people every single kind of angle that there is when it comes to the world of high-end manufactured homes and what we do. So yeah, I think we're pumped, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.
Yeah. And any questions, thehomegallery.com, or you can call us at 1-800-444-HOME.
Yeah, you'll see us. We have billboards, we have magazines. We're all over the place here in Southern California, and we build within a 6-7 hour radius. So we always say from like San Luis Obispo to San Diego, but we have a massive area that we service in Southern California. We don't build homes outside of this area. So like we get people all the time that call in and they're like in a totally other part of the United States. Logistically, it just doesn't make sense. For us, we have a really good, solid team for Southern California and specialize in what we do here. So yeah, check out our website. I'd also say throw some, questions in the comments. I think we're supposed to say like and follow. Subscribe. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.
Whoop, whoop.